Hello, welcome back to Everyman Prepping. And what do I mean by we're almost out of time? Well, I mean for this country as a superpower, as a moral country, someone on the leading edge is taking care of other countries. Our time is almost done. We're almost done being a superpower on the collapse, on the way down. It happens slowly at first, and then all of a sudden, just like with the Greeks or the Romans, it wasn't an instantaneous thing. It took many years. And I believe the U.S. has been on this process of collapse for a while, and now it's starting to really pick up speed. And now we're in the time of it's getting faster. And so I have a couple things to go through today to show you why I think it's picked up speed. When you're in the collapse for that country, a much like the Romans, the common citizens back then when their empire was collapsing, did they notice right away? Did they know it, or was it only after historians got into it afterwards and they said, well, this is when it happened? It might be hard to pick out, but I think I've picked out some few things here that kind of show how the decline is, going faster and faster. I wanted to share that with you so you can see for yourself, and you can comment below with what you think, if I'm on the right track or maybe not. The first thing though is a couple videos. So on the left side of the screen will be a video from the most recent Pride event at the White House. The administration putting a lot of time, effort, money into this. It's very important to them. So I wanted to kind of display that against the video that's going to be on the right side of the screen, which is the video just came out today, and it's from China, and it's showing their female soldiers, basically parading, get ready for battle. So it's a great juxtaposition for both countries, the direction each country is headed, and why I think we're picking up steam in the collapse, and China basically looks like they're on the rise. So I'm going to start both of those. I'm going to have both the sound playing at the same time. I think it gives a great juxtaposition listening to both at once, as you can hear the audio from both videos and kind of get a feeling what I'm getting after here. So before I turn them on, please like, share, and comment down below, and subscribe to the channel. So here we go.
Welcome to the White House.
Thank you.
Good. Happy Pride Month. Happy Pride Year. Happy Pride Life. One of the bravest and most inspiring people I ever know.
Hi, Mr. President. It is an honor. Trans rights and human rights. Are we topless at the White House?
Okay, I think that's enough of that. So as you can see, one side is pretty outrageous and immoral, showing the downfall of society, in my opinion, and one shows, which I'm guessing is 100% female soldier battalions over there, probably all biological females, getting ready for war, really. As the current leader of this country, the President Biden there, he basically called those people at the Pride event the bravest the bravest people that he knows. This kind of goes with the fact that, a couple days before that, he was actually at a military post talking to soldiers and the troops. But those are the bravest people he knows, and juxtaposed to what you saw from China and their soldiers. So I think that's a great example of the divergence of these two societies, East-West, and where they're headed. And I want to get into another article here. That's a social, moral decay of the country, starting the collapse on that level, along with a bunch of other, political, bunch of stuff that displays of the crashing of that part of, America, basically. The next part of the crash has to deal with the monetary crash. We're the world's reserve currency right now, but that's dying too. And, so we're going to lose the social, moral, political side, and now we're going to also start losing the monetary side. As I've done many videos, the dollar's been under attack. BRICS is attacking it. We got 19, 20 nations want to join BRICS. Heck, even today, France came out and said they want to go to the next BRICS meeting in August in South Africa. They would like to join. So I think the French are going to say au revoir to the West and, look to the East here. They've already, buddied up with China a little bit. But let's go see in this article here and you'll see what I'm talking about. This is in Kenya and talking about the dollar. So, and we're going to play another video in a minute here. But what we have here is the Kenyan president, William Ruto. He has called upon the African nations to shift away from using the U.S. dollar for intercontinental trade, so trade within Africa. He goes on to say that he emphasized that the African Export-Import Bank, and it's in parentheses called the Afrexim Bank, if I'm pronouncing that correctly, Anyway, it has provided a mechanism that enables traders within the continent of Africa to engage in trade using the respective local currencies. So they wouldn't need dollars. They just trade in their own currencies. It says the president expressed Kenya's support for the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System, which is administered by the Afreximim Bank. I'm probably butchering that. Basically, the Bank of Africa. So I want you to listen now to what he says about the U.S. dollar and trade over there. Let's listen here.
That is why Kenya champions the Pan-African Payment and Settlement System that is done by our own institution, the Afrexim Bank. Why, members? Why is it necessary for us to buy things from Djibouti and pay in dollars? Why? There is no reason. And we are not against the US dollar. We just want to trade much more freely. Let us pay in US dollars what we are buying from the US. But what we are buying from Djibouti, let's use local currency.
And you can see standing ovation, people are clapping, they agree with him. So he's saying, why? Why do I have to use dollars to trade with Djibouti? You know, why do I have to do that? You know, he says nothing against the dollar. You know, it will. You know, if we're buying U.S. goods, we'll use the dollar. And as you know, there's hardly any U.S. goods left around. You know, we're more of a service economy, not a goods economy, so it won't be much of that. But you know, therefore, you know, this would never happen. Years ago, this is how you know the weakness of the American and the dollar, the weakness of the American military that used to enforce the reserve currency. They don't care. This is going to be a whole nation, a whole continent in Africa pushing to use their own local currencies and, you know, move away from that. Because they're asking themselves, why do we need this dollar? Let's do it ourselves. Get rid of this dollar. So this will aid in the crash of the U.S. dollar. I'll link this article in the description below. It goes along to say it won't be that easy. It'll lead to, you know, some hardship. But you know what? They're going to do it because staying under the thumb of the U.S. dollar is more painful to them. And they've, you know, all these countries are realizing that now. So if you have moral decay, social decay, political decay, monetary decay, you know, your nation's not going to last too long. And the U.S. is not going to let it go. They're not going to stand by and just let it happen. They're going to fight for it. And, you know, all major superpowers that are starting to collapse go to war. War is going to be next. You go to war to try to fight. You go to war to try to stay a top dog. So there will be more war coming. That's how they're going to fight it. And speaking on that, we got this last article here from Dmitry Medvedev. And this came out. It's not only on TASS, but it's everywhere. But this is from the Russian point of view, which is what I wanted to get. But, you know, Dmitry Medvedev, he's the Security Council deputy chairman, right-hand man to Putin, as I always said, his spokesman, basically. And this is what he said on Telegram late last night, early this morning, depending on where you were. It says, now that the Western countries' complicity in the sabotage of the Nord Stream has been proven. So he's saying, you know, since it's been proven that someone in the West, he means the United States, of course, but he's going to say the West, blew up the Nord Stream 2. So since that's been proven and it's fact, you know, according to Russia, he said there should be no constraints, even moral ones, on us to prevent us from destroying our enemy's seabed communication cables. So what's he talking about? He's talking about all the cables that go from one continent to the other under the ocean to providing, you know, telecom, internet, military, you know, regular communications, analog, digital, all that stuff. He's talking about cutting those. You cut those cables, there goes your financial system. There goes the dollar again. There goes, you know, wreaks havoc. And that's what, you know, he's saying, you know, since you did that, we have no constraints or even more obligation to, you know, we can go out there and cut them. And this is what he's talking about really quick. So this is a map of submarine cables. Lines everywhere, as you can see. So let's zoom in. Here's the United States. And then all these colored lines are different cables. You can see how many go to, you know, South America, how many go to Europe. I more or less think he's thinking about, well, if they cut these cables in this area here, you can see that this is a pretty neat website. I'll link it too. You can click on these and it'll tell you where each one goes. You know, it shows like this one now rings around Africa. So do they cut that one? Maybe not, since they're basically partnered with Africa. But I would say in this area, if you want to block out, you know, the UK, you could start cutting a lot of these cables. I know in the North Sea they're worried about cable cutting. But there's a lot of cables they can cut. In France, in Marseille, I think it's Marseille, right? That's how you pronounce it right here. There is a ton of cables. These all feed Africa and Asia. Not sure they'd cut those, but if you cut something right here, blew something up, That's a lot of internet going down. And then you can even see, if we go back east here, how many from the west coast of the United States lead over into Asia, and with Japan, South Korea, Australia. So who's to say they just can't cut these and send us into economic ruin? So that's the threat from Russia right now. Part of the war going on now. With Russia coming out and just saying it, then just coming out straight up and saying, hey, we can cut these. I don't know if they would, because obviously they'll be blamed for them. It'd be huge escalation, act of war, all that. I think it's more of a threat saying, hey, we could do this, and we might do it if you don't back off, if you don't stop supplying arms and weapons and all this to Ukraine. That could be the hint that he's getting at without saying, is like, let we can do this. And maybe they've already pre-planned it. Maybe they have explosives already lined on all these. Maybe they got them all tapped. Maybe they're all ready to go. And this is his way of giving kind of a wink to that, saying, you step out of line, we're going to blow those cables. Now let's see what happens. So that's where we are with that. And that goes to the U.S. is going to need to go to war to try to keep their supremacy, which I don't think is going to help. So that's all I had. That's what I want to go through. That's why I think it's speeding up. We're speeding up on the moral, social decay, political decay. Definitely the attacks against the dollar with the BRICS, and now Africa, other countries switching to the yuan, Saudi Arabia and the oil countries doing oil trades in local currencies. It's all snowballing. And once it starts doing that and picking up speed, it's going to happen faster and faster. And I just want to bring this to your attention. Hopefully you got something out of this. Leave a comment below with what your thoughts on it, what you think about this, and where we're headed as a country. And until next time, keep your ear to the ground, head on a swivel.